Good evening, everyone. It's so great to see you guys, and welcome to the fourth meetup of MozNUV. I'm Janvi Jainwal. As I said before, I'm pursuing bachelor's in computer science and engineering at Navrasha University. Also, I'm your host for the evening. Today, we're going to talk about this really cool topic: authentication, luxury or necessity. We have Mr. Shahbaz Alam, full stack developer, ambassador at Auth0, and a Mozilla Council member. And he's going to dive deep into passwords and two factor authentication. If anyone has a question, please comment it down below and we will address them as soon as we're done with the talk. So, passing the mic over to Shahbaz.
Hello everyone. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Hi everyone. This is Shahbaz and welcome to this talk. And today we are going to talk about is authentication luxury or necessity. So before going ahead, I'll share my screen so that you know what I'm talking about. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, so as you can see, this is your logo, MozNUV. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the Mozilla Club. And here we are going to talk about authentication. Is it a luxury or necessity? So just to give you an introduction who I am a director at Alphaz Lingua, where I run a company based on localization. From computer science background, I have studied computer science, so I'm a full stack developer. I happen to know from backend to front end and from writing code from scratch to deployment. I'm also representing Auth0 as their ambassador and Mozilla as their Mozilla representative. And I run a local chapter here of GDG, that is GDG Ranchi. So what we are going to talk today is about first to share some of the biggest data breaches of 2020 as of now. There has come along many other breaches as well, but I'll cover few of them and for you all to explore and see what is the biggest data breaches of 2020. And then I will talk about what is the role of a developer and a user in all these data breaches and how we can secure ourselves as a users, how we can secure other people as a developer. So in between, I'll talk about various topics. So bear with me. And if you don't know anything, feel free to comment in the comment section and I will cover later on once we are done with the talk. Okay, so let's get started. So biggest data breaches is one which I can recall is Marriott has suffered another credential-based breach. So the story is that on March 31, 2020, Marriott has announced a post. You can see this post later on once I'll share this screen later on, this slides link. You can visit all those links where they have said that they have unexpected amount of guest information has been leaked by their two of their employees. So what it means is that later on turned out that that unexpected amount was 5.2 million guests. So if you happen to be registered at Marriott International websites, you might have given your informations, you might have given your other details. So all those details was leaked out. So this is unfortunately Marriott's another incident which had happened like last in 2018 also. They have happened a breach in Marriott. So how the breach happened? So we know that like it is very cool these days to have hacker and getting information from something called credential sniffing and phishing. So these were the two major culprits has been identified about this, how the breach has happened. And so what data was exposed? The data was that their personal information, such as gender and their birthday, uh, along with their linked accounts, which included airline royalty programs as well as other credit card details as well. So this was a huge credential breach to Marriott International. So the lesson from this that to protect customer data, you have to control how employees access data rigorously. So with this, it was not meant like some hacker has stole it. The hacker has tried to be like they have stole the credential of two employees, not that their the backend server was not good. So how they could have done it is that they could have used the multi-factor authentication for like logging. So if you're coming from a login background, or if you know what is multi-factor authentication, and if you don't know what is multi-factor authentication, we will cover in this talk. So also one could have been the multi-factor authentication. Other could have been the IAM system, which would have monitored the suspicion behavior that why two employees is downloading or getting information from all this 5.4 million of data. So this was first one, and the second biggest was that the Nintendo is the latest victim of the credential stuffing in media. So what does mean is that in the story is that in April 2020, they have announced that their 160,000 accounts have been breached in like presumptive credential stuffing attacks. So like as it is they have mentioned in their column, if you are coming from a like if you know SQL, if you know database and table, then you would know that each table has an ID. So they had the Nintendo network ID, and through that they have sniffed, they discontinued the practice of letting users log into their Nintendo network ID. Also that the company also recommended that users enable two-factor authentication to protect their data, but they haven't done it. So not only Nintendo, players like Netflix, Spotify, and Disney Plus have all had similar issues in recent months and years. So what data was exposed? So once hacker gained access to Nintendo accounts, they could make purchase and view sensitive data, such as you know, they have their email address, birthday and country, and so on and so forth. So how the breach has happened? They said that they have obtained illegally by some means other than our service. So it means that they weren't using unique IDs and password. So when the credentials were breached into another attack, hackers could use them to break into Nintendo accounts. If like everyone, if you don't know about something called cache hacking, or like cookie hacking, so all sort of things has happened to Nintendo as well as the other players in the market. So the lesson for businesses is that you should require a multi-factor authentication. What it is, we'll cover later on, and your user will thank you in long term if you have this account. Apart from there, I'm not going to bore you about all these stories and how this happened and whatnot. Slick Wraps has their case, the Antas has their case, Wishbone has their case. So these are the 11 biggest data breaches of 2020 so far. It is listed on the Auth0's blog. The link is here. You can watch it later on, or I will share it later on with you guys to look into it. So apart from that, if you like just Google on just type these things like list of data breaches, you will see how this happened. Like you could land into this Wikipedia page and you would explore what has happened. So till now we know that data breaches is a thing which could result in some bad experience as well as bad faith for your company as well your businesses. So how do we like do these things? How do we math all these things and make sure the environment is good? As a developer only, you cannot say ensure that everything is okay because their developer has done it, but still they had some issues with employee credentials being lost or something like that. So to me, I would say that there has to be an awareness for both of the people. One is the developer who is developing using it. So let's see how do we do the user awareness for this. For user awareness, one thing is that one should know how to write their password or how to choose their password. So we will understand what is password, and your password should be like Joey. If you're familiar with Friends character Joey Tribbiani, you would know that why I'm referring this in the later slides. So what's a password? It's a very good question to have right now. Think about it. You may be wrong, you may be right, but since it would have been, if it was a live event, I would have played along and asked you some questions, but I'll go ahead and tell you guys what's a password. So anything that's a shared secret. So it's a secret between us as well as the service we are using it. So a password can be a string, something like password 1234. It's a bad password. Remember, don't use this kind of password. How do you use your password? If you're using a string, use something like this. And how do we get a string like this? I will share later on. And this kind of strings can be hard to remember if complex. So how do we do that? A password manager can help. So it can be hard to guess by someone if complex, but do use password manager so you don't forget yourself. So the top 10 password managers for businesses this time right now, from a report from Expert Insight, is that LastPass is a very good one, which I personally use for their free plan. As well as there is One Password, there is Dashlane, there is Hitachi, and list goes on. Whatever prefers, whatever looks good to you, please please choose one and use the password manager for storing your passwords. So what is another way of password? A pin code is also a password. If you know, you have, let's say, your UPI pin. If you might have your mobile pin as well as ATM pin. They have this 4-digit password or 6-digit password depending on how you have set it up. So these passwords are not so hard to guess, but the good part is that it's often combined with maximum allowed number of attempts. If you try to unlock your phone multiple times with the wrong password, it will keep you waiting for a longer duration, and it gets you locked on, right? And it's very for a user, this kind of password, the number combination is very fairly easy to remember. But the good part is that it usually uses a physical thing such as your cards, your phones, your keypads, and carry along with as a physical thing. Another way a password can be is a pattern. You may be familiar with using mobile phone passwordless. So passwordless, by the name goes, it's you don't have to remember that password. It is OTP, one-time passwords. It is valid for one-time use only, often expired after a certain time, and sent directly to the user. There is no middleware in between. So how do it get sent? It gets sent in SMS. You may be familiar that you have received an OTP while you are, let's say, purchasing something from Amazon, or using your credit card or debit card. iOS and Android lets you fill in the OTP using the press of a button. There is a inbuilt feature for these operating systems. But not all telecom operators take security seriously. So SMS or messages can be intercepted, right? So you need your cell phone on hand. The biggest problem for this is that if you are using an OTP based login or some kind of second factor authentication, you need to have that mobile device with you, right? Another way is that receiving a passwordless thing is sent in an email. How does it look like? If you happen to be at Slack, there is an option to email a magic link or email me a link. So these links are called magic links, where it gets expired after it gets sent and clicked. So with the advantage of this is that you don't need a second device. This can be done with your mobile phone itself, or your laptop itself. It doesn't require another device as if it was required in the OTP sent to the mobile device. Again, the problem is that that is email can also be intercepted, right? So how do we cope up with this? If you send an OTP, that is okay, but how to cope up with these kind of challenges? The next topic is the Authenticator app. If you have used Google Authenticator, Authy, or any of the any of the authenticator you have seen, more or less every authenticator looks like this. This is the Google Authenticator, how it looks. You scan a code, it scan a QR code, it gives you a code, and you need to fill that to that input box, right? So these are the things which you could do by protecting or using as a password, right? Another way of password is that a social login or social passwords. So how does it look like? If you may be familiar with buttons like login with GitHub, with Google, with LinkedIn, Microsoft, and whatever you have used, these are called login with social accounts, right? So developer has made and linked your Google or linked a button as a developer SDKs, so that you can log in with your credentials on Google or GitHub. So what's the advantage of social login? It is a one less password to remember, right? You don't have to remember your password. You just need to remember your password for, let's say, Google, and you can sign it using that Google account. And it gives passwords to a service you trust. And if you don't want to continue with their service, you can go and revoke those permissions for that particular website. Rather than you putting yourself the hard work for like setting up all those authentication needs. And often used as a second factor authentication, these things, or you could do is that there is a plugin. If you are using Chrome or Firefox, there is a plugin called Password Checkup. There are multiple plugins which lets you know that none of your recent used passwords were detected in a data breach. What it does, that they look for the data breaches and see if your passwords hash was found in there, and like if it is there, they will let you know that this your password was in the recent breach. As I was mentioning about the Marriott, I received a mail saying that my email was there, my password was there. So rather you change your password somewhere else. Luckily, I use a separate password for different accounts and different users. So the question for now is that how's your password should be. That I have told you about the password should be like Joey, right? So there is a clip. I don't know if you can hear this thing, but that food, right? If you don't know, search for it, you'll love it. Joey doesn't share food, so does you don't share your password with anyone. It is as simple as that. Never with anyone. Your best friend, your parents, not no with no one. Like, you don't share your password. That's easy. And the other is that Joey is curvy and he likes it, is that it means that use an uppercase and a lowercase character when you are using your password, or when you are setting up your password. Right? It's lowercase characters. Similarly, use as Joey doesn't know French, he just makes it up. So make your password randomly rather than making a word from a dictionary or a proper word. Use a word which doesn't make any sense, right? Why it is that? It helps you protect from a dictionary attack. There is an attack called dictionary attack, which uses all the combination of the dictionary words and tries with the maximum number of attempts. If it gets if you don't know about dictionary attack, search on YouTube, you will find a lot of videos about it, right? And like Joey has one channel, so your password should only be used on one account. Your password should not be used in multiple accounts. Use a separate password for your separate account. That is it. And for tips for a good password is that use a complex password. Don't use personal data. Don't reuse passwords, and change your passwords frequently, right? So I don't know if I'm able to explain it here about this XKCD password strength. joke, something like that, but it makes you wonder about, as I was saying about the dictionary attack. You can see a 4 word is here: correct, horse, battery, staple. These are the 4 random common words which has a entropy value of 44 bits, which is 2 to the power of 44, and that makes it like 550 years at 100 per second. And whatever it takes, the difficulty to guess this thing for even to the computer is very hard, right? And how do you remember this thing? You can visualize this. That's a battery, staple. Yes, correct, that is a battery, and there is a horse, so there is battery, correct. Whatever visualization you can have, you can choose it. But the idea is here is that choose 4 random words and stick it together, even without, just with these plain characters, without the uppercase and lowercase, without inserting any symbols. This password has a good strength by like brute force attack. So this is a talk I'm not going to play right now, but when you search on YouTube, like Edward Snowden passwords, this is from a John Oliver's talk, where John Oliver talks about Edward Snowden, what a password should be, and his response is hilarious. And you should watch this 10 to 5 minutes of clip later on. If not, you can visit this slide again and watch this video. So how about this kind of password, like DRTDMETOT? So it is a very simple password, right? But it has it's a complex. You may not remember as of now, but when you break it like this: doctor told me to eat apple, but I like pineapple, right? So we have just used the first character and the last character and stick it together like uppercase and lowercase. It increases the entropy value of the password as well as the complexity of the password. I'm not going to say that use the same exact password, but use a phrase rather than a password. Use a pass phrase, not a password, right? So how you doing about the password? So first thing is that make sure that the user who is using your service knows about your system and choose a password very regularly, like with all the complexities, right? And next comes the developer awareness. How a developer should be aware. So there are multiple things to go on, but I have listed just 3, which I believe that the hot topics as of now. And if you know these things, you'll be much ahead from other developers who are making it wrong or who is doing it wrong. One is called JSON Web Token, another is web, and then we'll see what are the authentication as a services companies are, where we can worry about these things and just use their services. So first thing is called JSON Web Token, JWT. It is based on web standard RFC 7519. It securely communicates the JSON objects. It's a way to encode information. Rather than encryption, they use an encoding pattern to encode your information. So it allows the shared parties to verify information, whether the information is passed along with the JWT is valid or not. So how does this work? It's the secret-based verification. When a secret changes, then the information is no longer and no more legit. I will explain later on in the slides how it looks like, what it consists of, and why it is called self-contained. Things which is nothing but the header, payload, and the signature. So what is a JWT header? A header is a JSON object, usually consists of type. Type usually is JWT, and the algorithm we are using to encrypt the JWT, which may be JWT, HS256, RS256, and you're using it, feel free to visit jwt.io and you will explore lot many algorithms you can use for like encrypting the JWT, like payload and everything, right? So what is payload? Payload is a JSON object that consists of users defined attributes such as public claim, and other is the reserved claim. How it looks like: So what it does is that it gives you an issuer, which is has been generated, and another is the public claim, which is public to everyone, and which is about, let's say, your username. What is your username? What is your expiration time? And everything in between. So next is the JWT signature. A signature is encoded header, payload, and signed with a secret. So everything in between the header and the payload get encoded with a secret key, which is shared, which looks something like this. How it under a that you choose a SHA algorithm or RS algorithm to encode your header payload along with the secret, right? It completes several tasks at once, which is proves the identity of the sender, whether it is coming from a legitimate requester, and ensures that the message has not been changed. So the message in between in this payload gets changed maybe, but the signature is not. So a finished token looks something like this: encoded header, encoded payload, along with the signature. Something which you have seen in the red part. Here um, is the encoded header. The purple one is the encoded payload, and the last one is the signature used to encrypt everything, encode everything. So if you visit gwt.io, you would visit this website, which has you can paste your generated JWT. It gives you a header, which kind of algorithm it uses, what is the payload, along with an option to like verify whether this is a verified signature or not. So I use secret to um, like encode this thing, right? So one is the JWT, next is the web authentication API. So this is very new to the developer world. It has not been that much open to everyone. This is kind of as of now the things which we are using for web authentication hardwares. It uses as a second factor authentication as well, but this can be done as a first factor authentication as well. Authentication is called WebAuthn, and it is a key based authentication, which is a hardware authentication. It looks something like this. This is a YubiKey, which has nothing but some method to store your hash key, and lets you know that you are a legit requester for that. It comes in various shapes and size with different functionalities for different use cases, as well as again, this is our website, which you can visit, webauthn.me. And when you visit this website, there is a cool demo how this works. So I'll just walk you through how it works. Is that when you use authentication as a backend for letting the user log in about with the username and the email, and forgetting about the password, is that just type the username or email, click on register, and if you happen to have that authenticator device, just tap on that. It will go, it talks through your browser and goes to the relying party, that is the server. Here in this case is the Auth0 server, and it gives you back the signed key as well as to the browser, and browser returns to the authenticator device, and they store it everything. So rather than I explaining everything in here, visit and see how this works. Also, I have attached a demo which I have given to at a previous talk of mine at JS Meetup Bangalore, where I showed a demo of how WebAuthn works and on your mobile device. If you are on your mobile device, open Google Chrome on your mobile or Firefox, any of the browser, latest one, and visit all webauthn.me and try to do what is here. So I don't know if I'm able to play this thing. So is that okay? I can play. This is 1 minute clip, nothing much. So once you go there, use anything, try to register. It gives you back and it stores the data. And if you touch that, use a fingerprint on your device, because most of the device these days have a fingerprint, and it uses your hardware to authenticate yourself and give this challenge and signature to the server. So once it gets created, it gives you a raw ID as well as a public key to sign in again, as to like just using your email and password. The first thing what was that is that registering yourself, and the another thing is that with that user ID and all those public key, you can log in again using touching your authenticator, just like that, and you're logged in. So this is how it looks like as of now. Like if it is successful, it gets logged in, right? So again, this is a video on my YouTube channel. You can go and watch that video, how that works and whatnot. In short, it uses a navigator credential dot create method on your browser. This is API, browser API, which enables you to generate a public key, as well as using some of the things which is listed here with the name, ID, and display name, and list goes on. If you want to explore much in detail, feel free to contact me later on about these things as well. Okay. And the third topic, as I said, is the authentication as a service. So what I mean is that there are companies called like Auth0, Firebase, and Okta. These are company or products which uses which where you can use their authentication services to ensure something which is like a one-stop solution for all your authentication need. I'm not going to go ahead with what Auth0 does, what Firebase does, and what Okta does. Is that it does, like, it helps you, it gives you a one place solution, one stop solution for all your authentication and authorization needs. So it gives you like everyone, or maybe few of them, or the other players in the market gives you an option to single sign on. Like if you have multiple products and you want to use across all your product a single sign on, like one user, one email for all your login access. Same with as you have your Google account. This can be used for Google Gmail, as well as YouTube, as well as other Google features, developer friendly thing, or Firebase itself, it uses the same Google account. So that comes under single sign-on. Or there is enterprise connections, the LDAP accounts, and other enterprise users. And they also have inbuilt features, or their features of passwordless email and SMS. With Auth0 and Okta there is, but I'm not sure about Firebase. But Firebase gives you multi-factor authentication, as well as brute force protection, as well as breached password detections, right? Apart from all these, they give you a social login option. The all of the providers gives you a social login provider. So enough of me talking. Now the question is that, is authentication luxury or necessity? So this is an open-ended question. No one can give you an answer to this, but I ensure that after watching this presentation, after knowing about the breaches, after knowing about what a user where the user makes mistakes, or where a developer makes mistakes, for me, I would say it's a necessity, because you cannot share, or you cannot like unknowingly, you cannot share personal data to anybody in this world. That is a sensitive data, and it belongs to that person, right? So for any of the product I am developing, for me authentication is necessity. And let's hear from your side, like what authentication means to you. So if you have any question about the resources I have used, feel free to visit these links, as well as if you want to connect with me later on, anything you didn't understood or want to explore more, feel free to connect me on any of the social media platform, as well as on my email. And the slide is at slides.com/mdsvzalam. This is my username, right? And thank you for this talk. Now I would hand over the floor to the other people if anyone is here. I'm open to questions. Let me know.
That was indeed an amazing explanation. Let's move on to the doubts and questions. Um, there's a question by Fenil Shah. What makes JWT more secure?
Okay, so how does first the thing is that JWT is using an encoded based um encryption. They don't do the encryption part. So how JWT works is that whenever you, let's say, create an account or register a user at your server, is that at the server level you generate a JWT and send along with the user and make a website or make a product, something like that, which stores the JWT. That is the public key. It is meant for the people to see, right? It doesn't include any sensitive data apart from a username or basic expiration time and the issuer of the JWT, just to ensure that where it is coming from. And it gets stored in the local storage or cookies, anywhere you want to store. You can store it. And login, it uses another way of like attaching the your password along with the JWT, again sending to the server. So once anything in between the cookies what you have stored, if it gets changed, the JWT, like the strings I have shared you, the gibberish strings, if it gets changed, the signature won't match at the server. So there you know that something in between has changed, and that is, you know, that it is a best way or better method of logging someone at your server. Okay, Murtaza Ali has said, okay, yeah, I may have used the password checkup later on. If it is discontinued, look for password monitors or something like that. There are multiple ways where you can check up your password as well as your email to whether it is available or it got found in the latest breaches or not.
Okay, so moving on to the next question by Murtaza Ali. How does AES 256-bit encryption work?
Okay, so how does it work is something I'm not sure if everyone would be interested in knowing, because it goes from various hashing algorithms, apart from sub bytes to shift rows, mixed columns and whatnot. And in between, I don't know like if I'll be explaining everyone, but feel free to reach out to me, Murtaza. I'll explain you in detail.
He has Murtaza.
Okay,
Yeah.
so another question, the follow up is that is it the more secure? Again, everything, whatever we feel is a secure way of saying security is a myth to me and to every developer. We are here and we are fighting for that, so that how we fight for the next breach, how we protect our system. We were not knowing about JWT before it, and we were not using token based authentication before some breaches happened. We were not knowing about phishing attacks before it happened. So yeah, it is a try hit and try. That is how we know.
Yeah, okay, I think that's it. Okay, Fenel has another question. What happens if the JWT tokens get stolen?
um, or leaked or stolen is that nothing will happen like sensitive information. But if it gets stolen along with the server, because the how JWT works is that they have an expiration time. And let us say if you are as a developer is expiring that JWT token after, let's say, 5 months or 1 month, that is a weak decision to have. JWT is just to ensure how your session works and whatnot, along with the password. It like along with the combination of the password and in between where it is coming from. With the JWT, you know, if a JWT got get stolen, it will be sent from another domain and it won't match at your server, right? the security, the encryption, the secret won't match at your server. The JWT decrypt method won't match, or won't work with any of the domain gets sent from different domain apart from yours.
Are there any more questions? Okay, moving on. Looks like that's it for the day. If you missed something or want to revisit some of the topics of the talk, don't worry, this session is going to be posted on our YouTube channel soon. And if you want to collaborate with MozNUV, you can join us on our Discord server.